Greetings and salutations, artisans. It is Wolfphototech, and here we go with another book called Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, D&D Beyond Cancelled Edition. For Dungeons & Dragons previous 5th edition previously. This is a sad tale of a really good book that Wizards of the Coast has sold people, that they are in the processes of obsoleting because they want to resell you this information in newer books. If you happen to have D&D Beyond and have not purchased this book, or don't have a D&D Beyond account and have not purchased this book yet off of D&D Beyond in the digital form, you can no longer do so, as Wizards of the Coast has recently, a few months ago, bought D&D Beyond, and then they discontinued sales of this book on D&D Beyond. Which happened right around the same time that they released Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse of Madness on D&D Beyond and in physical book. The Monsters of the Multiverse book is literally just reprints of this book and Volo's Guide with some new artwork, some adjusted stat blocks, and less information. And dumbed down information. So, this book contains one new monster and some adjusted stat blocks and less information than these two books. It's actually a rather nice book. This is actually one of my favorites. I actually take really good care of it. You have the standard cover and the art cover. Personally, I'm the kind of person who does not buy the special art covers because those are typically $10 more or $20 more in some places. And to me, as a person who is grew up dirt poor and naturally try to hold on to everything I have and try to maintain it as much as possible, the idea of buying a special art cover on a book that does not have extra information or extra special stuff inside of it is stupid. I do not do that because it's a waste of money and time. You're essentially paying someone for a slightly different, paying $10 more for a different art cover, but the same book on the inside. That's weird. Here we happen to have on the previous page that said information plus my rant. Then you have the table of contents, which is up here, which has the preface, Chapter 1, the Blood War, Chapter 2, Elves, Chapter 3, Dwarves and Duergar, Chapter 4, Gith and Their Endless War, Chapter 5, Halflings and Gnomes. I don't know why Halflings and Gnomes get stuck together all the time. There's literally a Dungeons & Dragons Advanced 2nd edition book called Halflings and Gnomes. The complete Halflings and Gnomes. It's on my list of things to buy. Chapter 6 is Bestiary, and then there's an appendix with monster lists. And then up here, this whole thing is an index of monster stat blocks by alphabetical order. So we go to this next page here. By the way, the first few chapters, everything but Chapter 6, is not reprinted in this book. So this whole front section right here, the Blood War section between the demons and the devils is not reprinted. So this book is awesome. If you're going to Avernus or the Abyss, you have so much information here on the Blood War. Demons and devils in combat with each other. Demonic point of view. The balance. Lords of the Nine. Talks about Asmodeus and all the devils. The high-ranking lords. Blah, blah, blah. And just keeps going and going. And it even talks about the people directly under them, too. All of this is not reprinted in Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse reprint edition. It goes into diabolical cults of the various devils, like Asmodeus, Beelzebul, Disputer, Freya, Geryon, Mammon, Glacia, Lavistus, Mephistopheles, and Zariel. And then you also have this whole nice section on infernal cambions and their signature spells and special traits. And then it goes into Tiefling subraces. And you happen to have a whole section specifically going over the sub-variants of Tiefling subraces that you can play in D&D 5th edition. You got the Beelzebul Tieflings, which have an ability score increase. Your charisma score increases by 2 and your intelligence by 1. You got the Disputers, the Farina. You got different depictions of them. Glacia, Mammon, Zariel, Mephistopheles. You got a nice little table here for devil honorifics, personality traits, and so forth, and items, and so forth. And then you get into the Princes of the Abyss section, which then goes over the demons now. The first section of this book, of this chapter, was all about the devils. Now it's all about the demons. Like Baphomet, Demogorgon, Grest, Friz Ublu, Orcus, Jublix, Yunogu, Zukt Moy. You got a section on demonic boons. You also got some ability adjustments for various demons. Yeah, you got some nice little stuff here for ability score adjustments for various races, for worshipping demons and stuff like that. Tieflings for demons. That's how it makes sense. I have to double read this. Demonic boons. I never actually used this part. This is actually rather interesting. Yeah, this is all about boons. I read it boons and I was thinking like this is like Tieflings, but no, it's not. It's actually like a boon or a gift you can actually give your players if they worship, say, like Orcus. Had a brain fart there, you know. There's so much stuff in this book. You can just go through it and you like, you stop and you stare at something and like, wait a minute, there's a whole bunch of new stuff right there. That's cool. And then you got fiendish cults, you know, devils. And then you got the elves who are constantly in conflict with each other between the drow and the high elves and the wood elves and such. The elven dysphoria. It goes into the origin of elves, their childhood, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. The elven outlook and so forth. You got a list of elf deities with their name, alignment, province, suggested domains, and common symbol in this book. This is all stuff that is not reprinted in Monsters of the Multiverse. And you got some nice artwork of various elves and some foes of elves. And goes through the high elves and then into the drow and the drow deities. And it just keeps going and going. Almost the entire front end of this book. Ooh, you got the Ladrin and their Ladrin subraces here, as well as the Sea Elves, the Shadow Cree. You got dwarves. It goes all about dwarves. And they'll even get into the duergar and the Dero. You got dwarf deities. And it keeps going and going and going. And then now here's the duergar. And their culture and how they relate to dwarves, the mind flayers, and so forth. You got duergar character information right here. You got a dwarf tables and duergar tables. Some randomization tables for your traits, and so forth. And then you go into a section on the Gith, and the Githyanki and Githzerai, and how they go about their days and beliefs. Some beautiful artwork. Some stat blocks for the Gith, Githzerai, and Githyanki. You got some Gith tables here for randomizing names, traits, and so forth. And then you go into halflings and gnomes, the short peoples. You go into Halfling Culture, talking about their writing, their favorite cooking times, what kind of buildings they like to build and live in, the history with their neighboring foes. You got a table for halfling deities, titles for halflings, for famous feats they have achieved. And then you go into gnomes, which are the best. They're tinkering and fun. A little bit of information on Tinker Gnomes, which is one of my favorites. You got Deep Gnome information here. You got Gnome Gods right here. Then you got a little section on kobolds, the enemies forever. You got various subtypes of gnomes referenced in here. And then you go into Chapter 6, which is the Bestiary. By the way, as I said before, this entire section right here is completely stuff that is not reprinted in Monsters of the Multiverse. It's all this stuff back here that gets reprinted into the Monsters of the Multiverse book. With some new artwork added in for some of the creatures that did not have artwork. So you basically got Chapter 6, which is the Bestiary. You got Allops, Astral Dreadnoughts, Belanoth, Billring, Bone Claws, Cadaver Collectors, Chokers, Bronze Scouts, Iron Cobras, Oaken Bolters, Stone Defenders, Corpse Flowers. Corpse Flowers are messed up. Throw those on at a party and get them all freaked out. Deathlocks, Deathlock White, Deathlock Mastermind. You got various demons. You got an Alkalith, which is actually this weird like demonic fungus that actually generates a portal into the abyss. Got various demons in here, which is actually a nice little addition onto your demons in previous books. You got Zuktmoy, the demon prince or princess, if you want to go with that direction. That I keep forgetting how to pronounce her name. You got Bahamut, Demogorgon, Frizz Ublu, Gratz, Jubliex, Orcus, Yanogu, Zuktmoy. And then you have the Darrow Abershai, which now is in the devil section. So now we're going through the various types of devils and devil-like constructs. So forth. Got into a section of archdevils like Garyon, Hujin, Moloch, Titavilius, which is actually oftentimes referred to as one of the toughest monsters to fight in D&D 5th edition, particularly by XP to level 3. You got some more drow here. You got the Duergar. You got Eidolons, Eladrin, various elementals, Elder Elementals, Leviathan, Phoenix, Elder Tempest, Zartan. You got the Mimiridon Elementals, Githzerai, Grey Renders, so forth. And it just keeps going and going. Weasels and Nagpa and Nightwalkers. Nightwalker is actually one of the easiest undead to dominate as a warlock. If you see one of them coming up, they're you use various necromancy domination spells on them. You can actually take them over. You got Shadowcree. You got the Skull Lord. You got the Sorrowsworn, which is from the Shadowfell. By the way, all these Sorrowsworn are tied to a motion or a state of being. And if you are in the Shadowfell, if your players are talking like they're hungry or lost or something, you look up what kind of Shadowsworn that most closely matches the conversation and feelings of the players and characters, and you stick those on them. You got various trolls, a vampiric mist. You got into the Yugoloths section, which is actually neutral evil creatures. Demons are chaotic evil, devils are lawful evil, and Yugoloths are neutral evil. They don't really care about like order, the conflict of order or chaos. They're kind of just evil, and they're just doing their thing. Right back here in the very back, you got the appendix, monster lists by stat blocks, creature type. So you have aberrations, constructs, elementals, fae, fiends, a lot of fiends, some giants, humanoids, monstrosities, oozes, a single plant. There's no love for plants apparently in Dungeons and Dragons, and then some undead. And then back here you have the stat blocks list by challenge rating. You have a 1/8 CR monster, and you have only 3 CR 26s, which is Demogorgon, Orcus, and Zariel. And then you have creatures by alignment table. And there you go. Creatures by environment, not alignment. Why did I say alignment? But anyways, as I said before, this book is no longer available on D&D Beyond. This is going to be now my little fun rant that I gave when I was talking about Volo's Guide to Monsters. Is that I do use D&D Beyond myself because it makes it a whole lot easier online to share materials with people. However, I have to state that seeing as Wizards of the Coast purchased D&D Beyond, D&D Beyond is no longer as viable of a platform anymore, which sounds weird to people. Like, wait a minute, shouldn't it be better because Wizards of the Coast owns it? No. Historically, Wizards of the Coast has bought or built various platforms for their tabletop gaming products in the past. They used to have a site for Modern D20. They had a site for Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. They had a site for Gamma World. They had a site for Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. Whatever happens is that when Wizards of the Coast has a platform online where you can make characters or store stuff and research stuff, whatever happens is that when the next edition comes out within a few months or a year or two of that edition being on the market, Wizards of the Coast either removes that site from usage, as in they shut it down, or they start removing older items from it to the point that it becomes useless, and then they close it down. So, weirdly enough, Wizards of the Coast bought D&D Beyond, and within a week of buying D&D Beyond, this book is no longer available on D&D Beyond to buy, and Volo's Guide to Monsters is no longer available to buy. It didn't even take them a month, and they already started shutting stuff down. As for this book specifically, this book is damn awesome. If you want a ton of information on various creatures and the things I've listed in this book going through, definitely buy this book. It has tons and tons of info. You want to learn more about elves, all kinds of elves? Awesome book to buy. Go ahead and buy a physical version of this book. I do not know if other platforms are going to twilight this book at some point in the future, but I got a feeling at some point that's going to be in the direction that it's going to flow in. So I would definitely give this book a 4.5 star as it is. Sadly, unless your dungeon master bought it on D&D Beyond prior to Wizards of the Coast shutting it down from purchase, you will not be able to use the race options in this book like in your Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition adventures. And when Wizards of the Coast shuts down D&D and Beyond, when Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition comes out, or they start twilighting and shutting down all the books for 5th edition, so 5.5 is more appealing, or 6th edition is more appealing, I have warned you. So, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month. And see you next time.